In the dead of night, when the halls fall silent, the forgotten guests of history whisper from the shadows. Welcome, thrill seekers, to a journey through corridors where the past lingers a little too palpably. Are you ready to unlock the secrets of the most haunted hotels around the globe? Tonight, we delve into 4 chilling tales that are not for the faint of heart. From ghostly dancers in the ballrooms of old to the mysterious cries of a bride forever bound by tragedy, these stories are as real as they are horrifying. Have you ever felt the chilling touch of the unseen, or glimpsed something in the corner of your eye just to turn and find nothing there? Well, imagine that feeling, now trapped within the walls of a hotel with a story at every turn. Join me as we check into these haunted retreats. Listen closely, maybe you'll hear the echoes of the departed, or perhaps see them watching from the mirrors. Stay with us until the end and decide for yourself, would you dare to spend a night in one of these rooms? If you're ready to have your spine tingled, then don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more dark tales from corners forgotten by time but not by those who've passed on. And now, let's begin our journey of eerie true haunted hotel stories. Story 1, The Phantom Piper of Delhuzi Castle. When I first laid eyes on Delhuzi Castle, nestled just outside Edinburgh, Scotland, I was struck by its majestic presence and the palpable weight of history that cloaked its ancient stone walls. As the oldest inhabited castle in Scotland, Delhuzi has stood since the 13th century, originally serving as the stronghold for the Ramsay clan. With its imposing towers, battlements, and a labyrinth of chambers and vaults, the castle is a relic of a bygone era, now transformed into a luxury hotel with each room steeped in stories of the past. My visit was fueled by more than just an interest in history. Delhuzi is famed not only for its beauty and heritage but also for its resident ghosts. Among the spectral inhabitants, one tale particularly captivated me, the legend of the Phantom Piper, a figure as enigmatic as the winding corridors of the castle itself. As I walked through the grand entrance, under the watchful gaze of ancestral portraits and flickering torchlights, I felt a chill that had little to do with the cold Scottish air. It was here, in this ancient fortress, that I hoped to uncover the truth behind the mysterious melodies that haunted its halls. On my first evening at Delhuzi Castle, as I settled into the rich tapestry of the evening with dinner in the dungeon restaurant, a curious occurrence interrupted the clinking of fine china and subdued conversations. The distant, mournful sound of bagpipes began to weave through the castle's thick stone walls. Initially, it seemed a fitting ambience enhancer, perhaps piped in through speakers to give guests a taste of Scottish culture. But as the notes continued, I noticed a growing unease among the staff. After dinner, I approached one of the waiters, who hesitantly shared that no music was scheduled to play that evening, and there certainly were no bagpipers on the grounds. Intrigued, I probed further and discovered that this phenomenon was not new. Guests and staff alike had often heard the haunting sound of bagpipes, echoing through the castle at unpredictable times, always without a discernible source. These ethereal melodies seemed to drift down from the upper floors, leading some to wonder if the castle's corridors and hidden nooks held secrets of their own. The staff spoke of the sounds with a mixture of reverence and fear, suggesting that the castle's ancient past was not as dormant as it seemed. Motivated by these revelations, I decided to spend the night exploring the corridors and chambers of Delhuzi, hoping to encounter the mysterious music myself and perhaps discover the identity of the Phantom Piper who serenaded the castle's inhabitants. As the nights progressed, my investigation into the phantom melodies deepened. I wasn't the only one drawn to the enigmatic sounds. Other guests reported strange sightings accompanying the nocturnal bagpipe music. It was no longer just an auditory phenomenon, it had taken a visible form. One evening, a guest from Australia, staying in one of the tower rooms, recounted a chilling encounter. She was awakened in the middle of the night by the melancholic drone of bagpipes. Curiosity overcame her fear, prompting her to peek into the dimly lit hallway. There, she glimpsed what appeared to be the figure of a man dressed in traditional Highland regalia, his face obscured by shadows, playing the bagpipes with a somber intensity. Her story was not unique. Several other guests shared similar experiences, describing the ghostly piper wandering the corridors of Delhuzi Castle, his presence marked by a cold draft and the unmistakable sound of bagpipes that seemed to resonate from the very stones of the castle. These sightings prompted both fascination and unease among the guests and staff. The tales spread quickly, intertwining with the history of the castle. Some longtime employees believed that the Phantom Piper might be the spirit of a former castle resident, perhaps a musician who had once served the castle's noble family and met a tragic end within these walls. Driven by these accounts, I felt compelled to delve deeper into the castle's past and the legends that seemed as much a part of its architecture as the stones themselves. Determined to uncover the truth behind these spectral encounters, I decided to conduct a nighttime vigil in the castle's ancient chapel, a site reputedly frequented by the Phantom Piper. As midnight approached, the castle settled into a deep, eerie silence, punctuated only by the distant crash of the ocean waves against the cliffs below. Equipped with a camera and audio recorder, I sat quietly in the dimly lit chapel, the faint light of the moon casting long shadows across the stone floors. The air was chill and still, as if time itself had paused in anticipation. Then, just as the clock struck midnight, the haunting sound of bagpipes filled the chapel. The melody was both beautiful and mournful, echoing through the arched hallways with a clarity that made my heart race. As I turned towards the sound, I saw him, standing by the stained glass window, the Phantom Piper in full Highland dress. His fingers moved expertly over the pipes, his eyes closed as if lost in a world of his own. The air around him shimmered slightly, as though I was looking at him through a veil of time. Compelled by a mixture of fear and awe, I approached slowly, my recorder capturing every note. As I drew closer, the piper's eyes opened, meeting mine with a profound sadness that was almost palpable. He stopped playing, the final note hanging in the air between us. Then, with a nod that felt like a silent farewell, he faded into the air, leaving behind only the echo of his melody and a cold gust of wind that swept through the chapel. The encounter left me shaken and exhilarated. I had come seeking ghosts, half expecting mere stories. Instead, I had met history face to face. In the wake of the midnight encounter with the Phantom Piper, Delhuzi Castle embraced its spectral legacy more openly than ever before. The management, recognizing the intrigue and allure such tales added to the castle's ambience, began to incorporate the legend of the Phantom Piper into the guest experience more prominently. Historical tours of the castle were updated to include mentions of the Phantom Piper, highlighting the sightings and the stories behind them. These tours delved into the castle's rich history, speculating on who the Piper might have been, perhaps a former resident or a fallen soldier from one of the many battles that had raged across the region. Additionally, the castle hosted special themed nights where guests could enjoy traditional Scottish music, including live bagpipe performances. These events not only celebrated the cultural heritage of Scotland but also subtly acknowledged the eerie melody that many had heard echoing through Delhuzi's halls. Feedback from guests was overwhelmingly positive. The mystery and romance of the Phantom Piper added a unique dimension to their stays, transforming an ordinary visit into an unforgettable experience. For many, the possibility of encountering the Piper became an exciting highlight rather than a fearsome prospect. The staff, too, felt a renewed sense of pride in their work and the history they were part of. They shared their own experiences and stories with guests more freely, contributing to the rich tapestry of folklore that the castle boasted. Following the encounter in the chapel, I left a digital recorder overnight in the same location, hoping to capture any sounds or further evidence of the Phantom Piper's presence. What I found the next morning was beyond what anyone, skeptic or believer, could have anticipated. The recording device had captured several hours of silence, as one might expect in the desolate chapel. However, just before the dawn, the silence was broken by the unmistakable sound of bagpipes. The music was hauntingly clear, more poignant than any rendition I had heard before. But it was the visual evidence that truly astounded everyone. Along with the audio, the video function had been activated, and it captured a faint, ethereal figure standing at the pulpit. The figure, dressed in traditional Highland attire, played the bagpipes with a sorrowful vigor. As the sun began to rise, the figure slowly dissipated like mist under the warmth of the morning light, leaving the chapel empty and the music fading into a memory. This unexpected twist in documenting the Phantom Piper solidified Delhuzi Castle's place in the annals of paranormal history, bridging the past with the present through the haunting melody of a long-gone piper whose spirit, it seems, still walks its storied halls. Story 2, Room 237, The Locked Room Mystery. When I first arrived at the historic Stanley Hotel, nestled in the scenic Colorado Rockies, the air was filled with whispers of its haunted legacy. One room in particular, Room 237, held a notorious reputation, sealed off from the public and shrouded in mystery. As a historian and guide newly assigned to the Stanley, my curiosity was immediately piqued by this room that even the bravest of guests dared not speak of after dark. Room 237 had been closed for as long as anyone could remember. Staff shared chilling tales of strange noises and ghostly whispers that seemed to leak through its locked door. Even walking past it sent a shiver down my spine, a chill that seemed too intense to be just my imagination. It was said that Stephen King himself drew inspiration for The Shining from this very room, adding an eerie layer of fame to its already dark mystique. Despite the allure of the hotel's opulent lobby and picturesque surroundings, room 237 remained a stark contrast, a door perpetually closed, an enigma that no guest keycard could open. Rumors among the staff ranged from tales of spectral sightings to mournful wails heard in the dead of night, all centered around this one room. Drawn by both my role at the hotel and a personal fascination with the unexplained, I knew that uncovering the truth behind room 237 was something I couldn't resist. The deeper I delved into the hotel's past, the more I realized that some doors, like that of room 237, might be closed for a reason. Just a few weeks into my tenure at the Stanley Hotel, a new general manager, Mr. Clark, took over operations. Mr. Clark, a pragmatic man with little interest in ghost stories or superstitions, was baffled by the continuous exclusion of room 237 from the hotel's inventory. He saw it as a waste of potential revenue, especially given the room's infamous reputation, which could attract more thrill-seeking guests. During one of our staff meetings, he announced his decision firmly. "It's just a room, like any other," he declared. "We're going to open room 237. It's time we put these silly ghost tales to bed and make practical use of every part of this hotel." I felt a mix of excitement and apprehension ripple through the room. The longtime employees exchanged nervous glances, while a few of the newer staff seemed intrigued. I, too, felt a surge of both anticipation and dread. What would we find behind that long-sealed door? The following week, Mr. Clark arranged for the locksmith to come and change the locks. I was there when the door swung open for the first time in years. The air that spilled out was cold and stale, and as I peered inside, the untouched, perfectly preserved decor from decades past lay before us, as if waiting for its occupants to return. What happened next, however, confirmed that some legends have roots deeper in truth than we might wish. As soon as room 237 was officially reopened, Mr. Clark wasted no time promoting it as the ultimate experience for guests seeking a thrill at the Stanley Hotel. Bookings started immediately, driven by the allure of its chilling backstory and the recent buzz around its reopening. However, it wasn't long before strange reports began to surface. The first guests to stay in room 237, a young couple eager for a ghostly encounter, requested a room change just a few hours into their stay. Pale and visibly shaken, they reported that the mirrors in the room seemed to show reflections that were not their own, as if someone else was in the room with them. They also heard soft whisperings in the dead of night, impossible to trace and unsettlingly coherent, speaking words they couldn't quite understand. Following this, the electronic key system to the room began to malfunction frequently. Guests would find their key cards deactivated without reason, and the lights would flicker on and off. One evening, the entire hotel's power flickered out momentarily after a guest reported seeing a shadowy figure pass through the closed bathroom door of room 237. The hotel staff grew increasingly uneasy, and whispers of the old legends began to resurface with new fervor. I started documenting these incidents, interviewing guests and employees alike, capturing a growing dossier of unexplained phenomena that seemed centered around room 237. Despite the mounting evidence that something was amiss, Mr. Clark remained stubbornly skeptical, attributing the incidents to a mix of overactive imaginations and minor technical glitches. However, it soon became clear that whatever resided in room 237 was not content to remain just a story from the past. The climax occurred one stormy night when a historian, intrigued by the tales, checked into room 237 to uncover the truth. He was well versed in the lore of the Stanley Hotel and particularly fascinated with the room's mysterious past. Determined to spend the entire night, he came equipped with recording devices and a strong resolve. As darkness fell and the storm outside intensified, the historian began to notice an unsettling coldness seeping through the room, growing denser with the night. His equipment started to act up, with batteries draining rapidly and cameras shutting off without explanation. Then, at exactly midnight, the true horror began. Through his audio equipment, he captured the sound of a distant, melancholic piano playing, a tune that seemed both sorrowful and haunting. As he followed the sound to its source, he realized it was emanating from the bathroom. Bravely, he opened the door, and to his horror, he saw the reflection of a woman in the mirror, her face twisted in agony, screaming silently. Then, just as suddenly, she vanished. The historian, though terrified, continued his investigation, recording everything. He discovered that on this very night, decades ago, A woman had tragically died in that room under mysterious circumstances, her death marked by the same melancholic melody he had just heard. The parallels were undeniable, and the experience left him convinced that her spirit was reliving its last moments over and over again. As dawn broke, he left the room, shaken but unharmed, his recordings a chilling testament to the night's events. The evidence was overwhelming and irrefutable, marking a turning point in the hotel's handling of room 237. After the historian's harrowing experience, his recordings circulated among the hotel staff and eventually reached Mr. Clark. Despite his initial skepticism, the undeniable evidence laid before him, the chilling audio clips, the testimonies from the guests, and the historian's vivid account forced him to reconsider his stance on room 237. The safety and comfort of the guests being paramount, and with the historian's experience casting a new, undeniable light on the supernatural activity in room 237, Mr. Clark made the decision to close the room permanently. The hotel could not, in good conscience, allow guests to stay in a room with such a disturbed and unsettling history. Room 237 was once again locked, and this time, additional measures were taken to ensure it remained undisturbed. A plaque was placed outside the door, briefly explaining the room's significance and its role in the hotel's haunted history, turning it into an exhibit rather than a guest room. This move was met with mixed reactions. Some were disappointed, while others felt relieved, appreciating the respect shown to the past and its victims. The hotel began to focus on promoting other aspects of its rich history and picturesque location, gradually shifting the narrative from the horrors of room 237 to the overall mystique of staying at one of America's most haunted hotels. Tours of the hotel still included stories of room 237, but the door remained closed, a silent witness to the unseen forces that had once moved through its space. In a peculiar turn of events, shortly after room 237 was permanently sealed, the physical key to the room went missing. It was an old-fashioned metal key, quite distinct from the modern keycards used elsewhere in the hotel. The last time it was seen was in Mr. Clark's office, lying on his desk, a symbol of the final decision to close off the room for good. The disappearance of the key became a subject of much speculation among the staff and guests. Some joked that the hotel's ghostly residents had reclaimed it, ensuring no one would ever again disturb their peace. Others suggested more practical theories, like a souvenir-seeking staff member taking it. However, an extensive search and inquiry brought no answers. The key had vanished without a trace. This mysterious disappearance added a new layer of intrigue and fear around room 237. It seemed to affirm the belief among many that the room was best left alone, its secrets too dark and deep to be meddled with by the living. Mr. Clark, once a skeptic, now treated the legends with a newfound respect, cautious not to provoke whatever energies lingered in that space. The missing key became a legendary tale in its own right, often whispered about during the hotel tours, adding to the Stanley Hotel's allure as a destination for those drawn to the paranormal. It served as a chilling reminder that some doors are meant to remain closed, and some keys are meant to be lost. Story 3: The Watcher in the Window. I recently ventured to the Skirrid Mountain Inn located in the picturesque Brecon Beacons of Wales. Known as one of the oldest pubs in Wales, with parts of the building dating back over 900 years, the inn has a deeply rooted history that intertwines with tales of rebellion, revolution, and reports of ghostly occurrences. Its reputation as a hotspot for paranormal enthusiasts was what initially drew me in. As I entered the low-beamed, timber-framed building, the sense of stepping back in time was palpable. The Skirrid Mountain Inn has served various roles throughout its history, from a court where it is said that over 180 people were sentenced to death, to a rallying place for Welsh rebels. These walls don't just whisper with the wind, they seem to echo with the voices of the past. One of the most intriguing tales told by the locals was that of the Watcher in the Window. This phenomenon occurs in one particular room upstairs, where guests have reported seeing the reflection of a man dressed in old-fashioned garb, his stern gaze unsettling to those who catch his eyes. His appearance always seemed tied to a feeling of foreboding, as if he were a guardian of some long-kept secret of the inn. Intrigued by these stories, I booked a stay in this room, eager to uncover whether this was merely a collection of eerie tales or something more spectral in nature. On my first evening at the Skirrid Mountain Inn, after a day spent exploring the rugged landscapes of the Brecon Beacons, I retired to my room, the very room known for the Watcher in the Window. The room was quaint, with rustic furniture that echoed the centuries of history this inn had witnessed. As the sun set behind the hills, the room took on a shadowy glow, the kind that makes you glance twice at every dark corner. I was reviewing notes on my laptop when a sudden movement caught my eye. In the window, a reflection that was decidedly not my own appeared. It was a man, seemingly from another era, with a stern expression and dressed in what appeared to be 17th century attire, complete with a high-collared coat and a brimmed hat. His eyes seemed to fix on something unseen, giving him a vigilant, almost protective stance. Startled, I turned quickly to look behind me, half expecting someone to be in the room. But there was no one. The room was still, save for the soft creaking that seemed commonplace in such an old building. Turning back to the window, the reflection was gone as quickly as it had appeared, leaving me to wonder if my imagination had gotten the better of me or if I had just encountered the Watcher himself. The experience left me unsettled yet deeply intrigued. I knew then that my stay at the Skurrid Mountain Inn was going to be anything but ordinary, and I was determined to delve deeper into this mystery. As the nights progressed at the Skurrid Mountain Inn, the encounters with the Watcher in the window became more frequent and increasingly interactive. I wasn't the only guest to witness the strange apparition. Others too began to report similar experiences. What was even more unnerving was that these encounters started to include an element of communication. Several guests reported that the Watcher didn't just appear, he seemed to be trying to convey something. One night, a guest down the hall from me heard knocking coming from the direction of the window. When she looked, she saw the Watcher pointing towards the door of her room. Cautiously, she checked outside, only to find a forgotten scarf she had dropped earlier that evening on her way in. Another guest told of waking up in the middle of the night to the feeling of being watched. From the window, the Watcher seemed to be staring intently at him. On the sill, he found a note, old and yellowed, with writing that appeared to be in Welsh. Translated, it warned of strong winds that night. Indeed, a storm blew in several hours later, fierce enough to rattle the windows and shake the doors. My own experiences grew similarly strange. Each evening, as I attempted to capture the Watcher on camera, my equipment would malfunction, only to work perfectly once I turned away from the window. It was as if the Watcher was aware of my intentions and was not keen on being documented. The atmosphere in the inn grew charged, a mix of fear and fascination among the guests and staff. It became clear that the Watcher was not merely a residual haunt or a trick of light and shadow, but an active presence, seemingly protective of the inn and its occupants. The climax of my stay at the Skurrid Mountain Inn occurred on a particularly stormy night. The wind howled outside, making the ancient timbers of the inn creak alarmingly. That evening, I had decided to try once more to document the Watcher, equipped with a new camera and a sense of determined curiosity. Around midnight, as the storm reached its peak, I noticed the Watcher's reflection again. This time, he seemed more agitated, his movements sharp and deliberate. He was pointing urgently towards the staircase leading down to the main lobby. Intrigued and somewhat apprehensive, I decided to follow where he directed, camera in hand. As I approached the staircase, the scent of smoke hit me. Rushing down, I found that a small fire had started in the lounge, likely sparked by a fallen candle blown over by the draft. The inn staff were already there, working to control the fire, unaware of how it had been discovered. If not for the Watcher's timely warning, the situation could have escalated quickly, given the age and wooden structure of the building. The fire was extinguished with minimal damage, and thankfully, no one was hurt. It was a stark reminder of the protective presence the Watcher seemed to embody. His warning had potentially saved the inn and its guests from a disastrous fate. The experience solidified my belief that the Watcher was not a malevolent spirit, but rather a guardian of the inn. His interactions, though eerie, had shown a consistent pattern of safeguarding and alerting the guests and staff to unseen dangers. In the aftermath of the fire, the inn's atmosphere was one of grateful relief mixed with renewed curiosity about the Watcher. The event had sparked a deeper interest in his origins and purpose. My investigation led me to delve into the inn's archives and records, where I unearthed intriguing details about the previous owner who had mysteriously vanished decades ago. According to local lore and historical records, the previous owner, a man named Thomas Griffiths, was known for his dedication to the inn and his protective nature over it and its guests. He had been particularly fond of the room where the Watcher was often seen. His disappearance had been sudden and unexplained, leaving the community puzzled and spawning numerous rumors and speculations. One stormy night, much like the night of the fire, Griffiths had reportedly gone to check on some damage to the property and was never seen again. The search for him yielded no results, and he was eventually presumed to have been lost to the elements, his body never recovered. Connecting these historical dots led me to a profound realization: the Watcher in the window bore a striking resemblance to the photographs of Thomas Griffiths in the archives. His protective actions and the location of his appearances suggested that his spirit might still be looking after the inn, continuing his lifelong duty even from beyond the grave. This revelation brought a sense of closure to the staff and regulars at the inn. The Watcher was no longer a spectral curiosity but a beloved figure, regarded as a continuing part of the inn's legacy and its guardian angel. In the weeks following the fire and the revelation of the Watcher's possible identity as Thomas Griffiths, his appearances in the window abruptly stopped. Guests and staff who had grown accustomed to occasional glimpses of his figure or subtle warnings found that room 321 seemed just like any other room in the inn. The absence of the Watcher's reflection brought a mix of relief and unease. Without the protective oversight of the Watcher, small accidents and mishaps began to occur more frequently around the inn. A broken stair inexplicably led to a guest's minor injury, a window latch failed during a storm, and several guests reported feeling a vague sense of unease, particularly around room 321. It was as if, with the Watcher's disappearance, a subtle but essential safeguard had been lifted from the inn. The staff, now more aware of the inn's history and the benevolent nature of the Watcher's interventions, felt a keen loss. Discussions turned how they could possibly encourage the spirit's return, considering it a missing part of the inn's soul. Efforts included restoring some of Griffith's favorite belongings to the room and even holding a small ceremony in his memory, hoping to reassure the Watcher that he was still needed and appreciated. The twist, however, was that despite these efforts, the Watcher's reflection never reappeared. Yet, the feeling that he was still there, subtly influencing events and protecting the inn, persisted among those who knew the stories. It seemed that even in his absence, the spirit of Thomas Griffiths lingered, guarding the inn in ways unseen but felt, leaving everyone to wonder if his duty was now carried out from the shadows, unseen but ever vigilant. Story 4, The Crying Bride of the Grand Hotel Excelsior Vittoria. Perched on the cliffside overlooking the sparkling waters of the Bay of Naples, the Grand Hotel Excelsior Vittoria in Sorrento is a marvel of Italian elegance and historic charm. With its lush, terrace gardens, exquisite frescoed interiors, and panoramic views, the hotel has long been a sanctuary for those seeking luxury and romance. As I entered its grand lobby, the timeless sophistication of the hotel enveloped me, the polished marble floors, the glittering chandeliers, and the gentle strains of a piano drifting from the bar. The hotel's allure was undeniable, drawing in honeymooners and couples celebrating anniversaries from around the world. The bridal suite, known as the Orchid Suite, was particularly renowned. Decorated with delicate silks and sumptuous furnishings, and offering a private terrace with breathtaking sea views, it promised a perfect romantic retreat. Yet, beneath its beauty, there lingered whispered tales of a melancholic mystery, a legacy of love and loss that added a poignant note to its charm. During my stay at the Grand Hotel Excelsior Vittoria, I was captivated by the stories surrounding the Orchid Suite. It was on a quiet, moonlit night that I first heard about the unusual occurrences directly from the hotel staff. The concierge, a gentleman who had served at the hotel for decades, shared the tale with a mixture of reverence and unease. Many guests have reported hearing soft weeping coming from the Orchid Suite during times when it should have been empty, he told me, his voice dropping to a whisper. Housekeeping staff are often hesitant to enter alone, especially in the evening, because the crying is sometimes accompanied by a cold breeze, even in the height of summer. Intrigued and a bit skeptical, I decided to investigate these claims myself. With the permission of the hotel management, I arranged to spend a night in the suite during a period it was unbooked. That evening, as I settled into the plush surroundings of the suite, I listened intently, half expecting to hear nothing but the gentle sounds of the sea. However, as the clock neared midnight, a faint, sorrowful sobbing echoed through the room. It was a sound that chilled the spine, filled with such deep sadness that it seemed to permeate the very walls of the suite. As my investigation deepened, the incidents surrounding the Orchid Suite grew more intense and frequent. Over the next few days, not only did the weeping continue each night, but guests and staff began to report seeing reflections of a bride in the mirrors around the hotel. These sightings were not confined to the bridal suite. They occurred throughout the Grand Hotel Excelsior Vittoria, often in the most unexpected places. One evening, a guest reported seeing a reflection in the lobby's grand mirror. She described seeing a young bride, dressed in a flowing white gown that seemed to belong to a bygone era. The figure was always seen from the back, her head bowed as if in sorrow. When the guest turned to confront the vision, there was nothing but the usual bustle of the hotel behind her. The sightings became a frequent topic among the guests, stirring a mixture of fascination and fear. Hotel management was concerned but intrigued, as the phenomena drew a curious crowd, yet they feared it might unsettle the guests too much. Determined to uncover more, I spent nights roaming the halls, hoping to encounter the spectral bride myself. It wasn't long before I did. Passing by a mirror in the dimly lit corridor, I caught a glimpse of her just as the others had described. The sight was both mesmerizing and heart-wrenching. The reflection vanished as quickly as it appeared, leaving a lingering feeling of sadness in the air. The culmination of these mysterious events occurred when a newlywed couple, who had checked into the Orchid Suite for their honeymoon, experienced the most direct encounter yet. The couple, eager to experience the renowned romance of the Grand Hotel Excelsior Vittoria, were initially thrilled by the allure of their luxurious accommodation and the stunning sea views. However, their excitement turned to unease as they too began to hear the soft weeping that had become all too familiar to the staff and guests. On their second night, the bride, unable to sleep due to the unsettling sobs, noticed a shimmering figure in the suite's full-length mirror. The apparition of the sorrowful bride, clear and undeniable, stared back at her with a profound sadness in her eyes. Frozen with both fear and compassion, the couple watched as the ghostly bride reached out towards them, her hand stopping short of the glass as if blocked by an invisible barrier. Compelled by a mixture of fear and a desire to help, the groom cautiously approached the mirror. As he drew closer, the apparition's lips seemed to move, whispering words that were lost in the silence. The air grew cold, and a gust of wind swept through the room, causing the curtains to billow. Then, as quickly as she had appeared, the apparition faded away, leaving the couple in a state of shock and awe. The experience deeply affected the couple, who reported the incident to the hotel management the next morning. Their story corroborated the many accounts of the hotel's haunted reputation and spurred a more profound investigation into the history of the Orchid Suite and the identity of the crying bride. After the newlywed couple's unsettling experience, the hotel management, motivated by both concern and curiosity, delved deeper into the historical records of the Grand Hotel Excelsior Vittoria. Their research uncovered a tragic story that had been all but forgotten, lost in the folds of the hotel's storied past. The archives revealed that many years ago, a young bride named Isabella had been set to marry at the hotel in a grand ceremony during the late 1800s. However, tragedy struck on what was to be her wedding day. Overcome with grief from the sudden, mysterious disappearance of her groom on the morning of the ceremony, Isabella was found lifeless in her bridal suite later that night, her cause of death declared as heartbreak and despair. This heartbreaking tale cast a new light on the phenomena surrounding the Orchid Suite. It seemed that Isabella's spirit remained at the hotel, trapped in her moment of utmost sorrow, her cries and appearances a manifestation of her unresolved grief and eternal wait for her missing groom. Armed with this knowledge, the hotel decided to honor Isabella's memory more openly, acknowledging her story in their brochures and even dedicating the suite to her. They hoped that by bringing her tale to light, they might help her spirit find some measure of peace. Guests and staff reported a subtle shift in the atmosphere of the Orchid Suite following these changes. While some still reported occasional sightings or the faint sound of weeping, these occurrences were now often described as less sorrowful, more wistful, as if Isabella's spirit had been soothed by the recognition of her story. A few weeks after the couple's encounter and the hotel's decision to honor Isabella's memory, another curious incident added a mysterious twist to the legend of the Orchid Suite. The same newlywed couple returned to the hotel for their first anniversary, drawn back by a mix of fascination and an unspoken bond they now felt with Isabella. During their stay, they dropped a personal item under the bed. While searching, the groom's hand brushed against something small and hard tucked in a shadowy corner beneath the bed frame. To their astonishment, he pulled out an old, dusty ring box. Inside, they found a delicate gold wedding ring with a single, tear-shaped diamond, an item that was not listed in any of the hotel's lost and found records. The couple brought the ring to the hotel management, who were equally baffled and intrigued. An examination of the ring revealed an inscription inside the band that read, "Forever yours, Isabella." This discovery seemed to be the missing piece of the puzzle, likely the ring Isabella was meant to wear on her wedding day, perhaps lost in the chaos and despair that followed her groom's disappearance. The finding of the ring was shared with the guests and added to the lore of the hotel. Many believed that this was the key to finally giving Isabella the closure she needed. Over time, reports of the crying and sightings in the Orchid Suite gradually diminished. Guests who stayed there spoke of a calming presence, a gentle warmth that seemed to envelop the room. This poignant conclusion to the tale of the crying bride of the Grand Hotel Excelsior Vittoria left many to ponder the mysterious ways in which the past continues to echo through the halls of such historic places, sometimes needing just a bit of acknowledgement and a token of remembrance to find peace. These narratives are more than just ghost stories. They reveal our enduring fascination with the supernatural and the unseen, drawing travelers and thrill seekers alike to these enigmatic spaces. Haunted hotels captivate our imaginations with their blend of luxury, history, and the tantalizing possibility of encountering something or someone beyond the ordinary. I invite you, my viewers, to share your own ghostly experiences. Have you ever spent a night in a haunted hotel, felt an unexplained chill, or seen a figure from the corner of your eye? Perhaps you have a haunted locale in mind that you think I should visit next. Share your tales and suggestions in the comments below. Your story might just be the feature of our next spooky segment. If you found these stories intriguing, remember to like, subscribe, and comment to join us on more haunted adventures. Hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest videos. Each subscription helps us bring more of these ghostly tales to light, and every like keeps the spirits at bay. Until we meet again, keep an ear out for the unexplained, and perhaps keep a light on tonight. Thank you for watching, and stay curious.